Okay, so Freudian slip. In the beginning of that last video, I said you left click and select in Blender. Obviously you don't, and there's a whole bunch of controversy over that. So with that in mind, let's cover that next. So you can actually switch this. So go to File, User Preferences, and right there on Input, where we were with Emulate 3-button mouse, you can choose left click select, and notice that it turns that off by default, and I'm not sure why that is, but it does. So anyways, go back here and save user settings, close this dialog box, and now I can left click and select these things and drag them around just like I was talking about before. And navigation is still working. I'm not sure why it turns that off by default. There might be some reason there. At any rate, back here to User Preferences, I'm on Input panel, select with right click. I'm going to set it back to its default, make sure Emulate 3-button mouse is on, save user settings, close the dialog. Alright, so that's that. The very next thing that we should do is go over briefly the interface, since we more or less know how to navigate things here and move things around by dragging them. We already know we can do that. Let's have a look at the manipulator. Let's start down here on this part of the interface. The first thing I will say is that everything that you do in Blender exists on a menu someplace. And there are various ways to get to those. But let's not panic right away. Let's just start simple. So let's skip all the menus along the bottom. We're going to skip all the menus along the top, and all this nonsense over to the left, and all of this to the right. We're just going to forget about all that, and by default, this timeline below us right here. This is a timeline for animation, right? So let's forget about that. What we want to concentrate now on is just this 3D space and tools that we need immediately in that space. So we're going to skip right over all this stuff for now and just go straight to this manipulator here, because that's usually the first thing you want to do, is figure out how to manipulate things. So you can turn on and off the visibility of that manipulator in this button right here. You got the sphere there, you got object mode, sphere, this other double sphere looking thing, that double arrow there, and then this thing right here, that is your manipulator on and off. Now next to it you can choose if it's a move manipulator, if it's a rotate manipulator, or a scale manipulator. Or you can move, shift click the scale, and shift click the rotation and scale, and now you have a multi-purpose manipulator. So now you can drag it and well, you can't see that light moving, but if I select this guy here, see, I can do the rotations and the movements and so on and so forth. So that would be usually the first thing you'd want to do, is figure out how to use the manipulator and how that actually works and how to set that up if you're using any 3D program. The next thing that you would want to know is where are you rotating or moving from, or scaling from for that matter, and that would be the action center or the pivot center. And my keyboard thing is in the way, so sorry about that. So here we go. I need to move that to a different location. There we go. So right here, this would be the first one, excuse me, the second one. You got the sphere, and then you have this guy right here. I'm going to go over this in the next video. I'm going to adjust the position of that. So that'll be the next thing. Let's go into how we set where the center is, and then we'll probably get into snapping and a few other things.